The airlock hissed open, and Lieutenant Jake Morrison stumbled through, his helmet cracked, oxygen gauge blinking red. Blood trickled down his temple. Behind him, the Zathran warship's hull groaned as emergency bulkheads slammed shut. "Move, move!" he shouted, dragging the alien woman by her wrist. Her silver skin shimmered under the emergency lights, those violet eyes wide with something between terror and confusion. The corridor exploded behind them. Metal shrieked. Jake's ears rang as the shockwave threw them forward into the escape pod bay. His knees hit the deck hard. Pain shot up his legs, but he couldn't stop. "Get in!" He shoved her toward the nearest pod. She hesitated at the entrance, her tall frame filling the doorway. "Your species always runs. My species stays alive." Jake punched the activation sequence. The pod's interior lights flickered on, revealing a single bench seat designed for human dimensions, not the 7-foot warrior race currently blocking his escape route. Another explosion rocked the ship, closer this time. The deck tilted 15 degrees. She looked at the cramped interior, then at him. "We will not both fit. We'll make it work." Jake grabbed a supply pack from the wall rack, threw it inside. "Unless you want to die when this ship tears itself apart in about 90 seconds. Her 3-fingered hand gripped the pod's frame. "My people do not share confined spaces with other species. Your people aren't here." Jake could see the mathematics of their situation in her eyes. The cold calculation. Zathran were bred for war, not trust. Every instinct in her genetically engineered body screamed that this was a trap. The ship lurched. Gravity fluctuated. His stomach dropped. 60 seconds, he said. She stepped inside. The pod felt like a coffin. Jake followed, their bodies pressed together in the inadequate space. He reached past her shoulder for the control panel. Her breath smelled like ozone and copper. "There!" He pointed to the bench. "Sit, I'll make space." She lowered herself carefully, her armored legs taking up most of the floor. Jake wedged himself into the corner, half sitting on the supply locker, his boots braced against the opposite wall. "This will not work," she said. "It has to." Jake initiated the launch sequence. Red warnings flashed. Pod integrity compromised. Trajectory unstable. Fuel reserves minimal. She watched the readouts with those unnerving violet eyes. "We will die anyway." "Probably." Jake strapped the harness across his chest with shaking hands. "But at least we'll die trying." Her hand moved to her weapon. Jake met her gaze. "You really want your last act to be killing the guy who just saved your life? I did not ask to be saved." "Too bad." The launch countdown hit 0. The pod fired. Dash. The pod spun like a dying star. Jake's skull cracked against the wall, his vision blurred. The artificial gravity had failed on launch, and now they tumbled through the void, two bodies slamming against metal in a dance of broken physics. "Stabilizers!" he shouted, reaching for the manual controls. The Zatharthran woman's armored elbow hit his ribs. Something cracked. He gasped, tasted copper. Her hand shot out and caught his wrist before he could reach the panel. "Let me," she said. Her fingers moved across the controls with impossible precision. The spinning slowed, stopped. Emergency thrusters fired in sequence. The pod steadied. Jake exhaled blood. "Thanks." "Do not thank me yet." She pointed at the viewport. "Look." Through the small window, he saw their mothership, the USS Valiant, breaking apart in silence. Chunks of hull spinning away like leaves in a storm. Escape pods launching in all directions. Some exploded before they cleared the debris field, and beyond it, the Zathran dreadnought that had ambushed them, its weapons still glowing hot. "They're hunting survivors," Jake said. "Yes." She studied the tactical display. "We have perhaps 3 minutes before their scanners locate this pod. Then we go dark." Jake killed all non-essential systems. The lights died. Life support dropped to minimum. The temperature began falling immediately. In the darkness, he heard her breathing. Steady. Controlled. Not human. I am called Vera, she said. Jake. He wedged himself tighter against the supply locker, making more room. You speak English well. I studied your species before the war. Her voice came from inches away. I was an intelligence officer. Was? My ship was destroyed 6 cycles ago. I was captured during a boarding action. They were transporting me for interrogation when you attacked. Jake felt something shift in his understanding. You were a prisoner on that ship? Yes. Then why did you hesitate at the pod? Silence. Then, because in my experience, humans do not save Zehathrin. They kill us. The pod's hull groaned. Outside, a piece of debris tumbled past, close enough to scratch the viewport. I'm not most humans, Jake said. Clearly, he heard her shift position. Why did you save me? Saw you in that cell when we breached their brig. Couldn't leave you. Many would. Yeah, well. Jake touched his broken ribs, winced. Maybe I'm stupid. Perhaps. A pause. Or perhaps you are something else. The temperature had dropped to near freezing. Jake's breath came out in clouds. His flight suit wasn't rated for this. He started shivering. You are cold, Vera said. I'm fine. You are lying. Your physiology cannot sustain these temperatures. Pods too small to generate heat without showing up on their scanners. Then we must share warmth. Jake tensed. What? My body temperature is higher than yours. Basic thermodynamics. Move closer. Every training vid, every briefing, every propaganda poster had taught him that Zehathrin were the enemy. Monsters. Killers. The silver-skinned devils who destroyed 3 colony worlds. But right now, one of those devils was offering to keep him alive. Are you sure? He asked. Would you prefer to freeze? Jake shifted carefully, trying not to jostle his broken ribs. Vera adjusted her position on the bench, making space. He slid next to her, their sides pressed together. Heat radiated from her armored body like a furnace. Better? He asked. Yeah. His teeth still chattered. Your people always this warm? Our homeworld orbits closer to our sun. We evolved for higher temperatures. Useful. Usually. Her hand moved, almost touched his shoulder, then stopped. Your wound. The head injury. It's nothing. It is bleeding. I'll live. She made a sound that might have been Zehathrin laughter. You are stubborn. Survival trait. The scanner display flickered. Jake's heart stopped. A contact, moving through the debris field. Then another. Then 5 more. Hunter drones, Vera whispered. They search for life signs. Jake watched the signatures move in a grid pattern, systematic, thorough. One passed within 50 meters of their pod. The hull temperature continued dropping, masking their heat signature. How long can you hold your breath? Vera asked. What? Life support generates trace gases. If they scan this sector closely, they will detect it. Jake understood. He killed life support entirely. The pod went silent, except for their hearts beating. 30 seconds. The drone moved closer. 60 seconds. Jake's lungs burned. 90 seconds. His vision spotted. The drone moved away. Jake gasped, sucking air. Vera hadn't moved, hadn't breathed. He stared at her in the darkness. Zehathrin can hold breath for 7 of your minutes, she said. Evolutionary advantage. Show off, Jake muttered. This time she definitely laughed. The scanner went dark. No power left for non-essentials. Jake's ribs throbbed with each breath. In the absolute blackness, Vera's heat was the only thing keeping hypothermia at bay. How long until rescue, she asked. Assuming anyone survived? 12 hours minimum. Emergency beacons only broadcast after the threat clears. And if no one survived? Jake didn't answer. The silence said enough. Tell me about Earth, Vera said suddenly. What? We have 12 hours? I would know why humans fight so hard to survive. Jake shifted, trying to find a position that didn't stab his ribs. You really want to talk about this now? Would you prefer to sit in silence, waiting to die? Fair point. Jake exhaled slowly. Earth's a blue marble, oceans everywhere, mountains that touch clouds, forests older than our recorded history. Your intelligence reports called it unremarkable. Your intelligence was wrong. Jake felt anger heat his chest. We've got deserts that glow red at sunset, ice caps that shine like diamonds. Cities with billions of people, all different, all trying to make something of themselves. You speak of it with passion. It's home. I understand. Vera's voice softened. My world, Zathera, has crystalline caves that sing when the wind blows. The sound carries for kilometers. As children, we would play in them, making the crystals resonate. Jake blinked in the darkness. You had a childhood? Did you think we spawned fully grown for war? Honestly? Yeah, that's what the briefing said. Human propaganda is effective. Bitterness edged her words. We are engineered for combat, yes, but we still feel, still dream, still grieve. The pod drifted through debris. Something metallic scraped the hull, a sound like nails on a coffin. Why did your people start this war? Jake asked. We did not start it. The attack on New Olympus was retaliation. Vera's heat intensified. Anger or shame? Jake couldn't tell. Your colony ships entered our territory. We warned them away. They ignored us, built settlements on our holy sites. Jake's stomach twisted. That's not what we were told. Of course not. Truth is the first casualty of war. She paused. But I have seen your files, intercepted your communications. Humanity believed those worlds were uninhabited. Were they? Not by your definition. Zathron do not build cities like yours. We terraform carefully, leave minimal footprints. Your surveys saw empty planets. So this whole war is a misunderstanding? Vera laughed, but it sounded broken. No, it was a misunderstanding. Now it is hatred. Revenge. Blood for blood until one species destroys the other. The temperature had dropped to dangerous levels. Jake's fingers were numb. He tucked his hands under his arms. You are shaking again, Vera said. I'm fine. You keep saying that. It keeps being false. Without warning, she pulled him closer. Her armored arm wrapped around his shoulders, pressing him against her torso. The heat was overwhelming, almost painful after the cold. Better? She asked. Jake's face burned. This is extremely inappropriate by human military standards. Would you prefer to die appropriately? Point taken. They sat like that, enemy soldiers pressed together in a coffin of metal and ice, surrounded by the wreckage of their war. I killed 17 of your kind, Vera said quietly, during the battle for Proxima Station. Jake's breath caught. I was there. I know. I recognize your ship designation from the tactical logs. I killed 11 of yours. That we confirmed. His voice felt hollow. Probably more. Do you regret it? I regret that it happened. Jake stared at where the viewport would be if he could see. But I'd do it again to protect my crew. As would I. Vera's grip tightened slightly. We are soldiers. We do what we must. Doesn't make it easier. No. A vibration ran through the pod. Jake tensed. What was that? Vera's free hand moved to the controls, activating them for just a second. The display flashed. Her breath hissed. Debris field is collapsing. Gravitational instability from the destroyed ships. Can we maneuver? Not without power. And if we activate engines, the drones find us. They felt another impact, harder this time. The pod rang like a bell. We need to make a choice, Vera said. Drift and hope we survive the debris, or boost away and hope we outrun the hunters. Jake did the math in his head. Neither option was good. Debris would eventually crush them, but active engines made them a target. Third option, he said. We use the debris. Explain. That chunk that just hit us. If we time it right, attach ourselves to something big, we ride it out of the field. No active engines, just momentum. The impact could destroy the pod. The impact could also save us. Vera was quiet for 3 seconds. Your species has a word. Crazy? Yeah. This plan is crazy. You have a better one? She didn't. Jake powered up the magnetic clamps, praying they still worked. Find us a ride. Vera activated sensors for 2 seconds, captured a snapshot, killed them. Large hull section 17 degrees port, tumbling slowly. If we time the magnetic lock perfectly, we'll match its rotation and drift clear. Or we will be smashed flat. Optimism, Vera? Try it. I do not think I like your optimism. The hull section approached. Jake could hear it now, a low, grinding sound through the pod's walls. Closer, closer. Now! Vera shouted. Jake fired the clamps. Metal screamed. The pod lurched violently sideways. His head cracked against something hard. Vera's arm held him tight as they spun. Then, stillness. They were attached, moving with the debris, away from the hunting drones. It worked, Jake said, tasting blood. Do not sound so surprised. I'm always surprised when I don't die. Vera's chest moved in what might have been laughter. You are a strange human, Jake Morrison. You're not so bad yourself for an alien war criminal. War criminal? 17 confirmed kills. That's definitely war criminal territory. Then we are both criminals. Guess so. The pod drifted on, carrying 2 soldiers who should be enemies, wrapped together against the cold and the dark and the war that wanted them dead. 4 hours into the drift, Jake's medical kit beeped its final warning. His ribs weren't just cracked anymore. Internal bleeding, slow but steady. You need medical attention, Vera said. Can't exactly walk to sickbay. Your humor worsens as your condition deteriorates. Jake coughed. Wet. Bad sign. It's a coping mechanism. Vera's hand moved to his chest, pressing gently over the injury site. Her palm radiated heat. I can feel the damage. Broken bones have punctured something internal. Probably my lung. Feels about right. You will die without treatment. Yeah, well, add it to the list of ways this day could kill me. She pulled back suddenly. Jake heard her moving in the darkness, rummaging through something. The supply locker clicked open. What are you doing? He asked. Zathran Field medical kits are compatible with human biology. We studied your physiology extensively. Items clattered. There. Coagulant foam. It will seal internal bleeding. That stuff's designed for your species. Different biochemistry. The base compounds are universal. Calcium-based clotting agents work across carbon-based life forms. You sound confident for someone about to inject alien chemicals into my chest. Would you prefer to drown in your own blood? Jake wheezed a laugh that turned into a cough. Point taken. Do it. Her hands found him in the darkness. Strong, steady, she unsealed his flight suit, exposing his chest to freezing air. Jake's teeth chattered. This will hurt, she said. Everything hurts, the injector hissed. Fire exploded through Jake's ribcage. He bit down on a scream. Every muscle locked tight. The foam expanded inside his chest cavity, seeking damaged tissue, sealing it. 30 seconds of agony, then relief. So sudden it felt like floating. Better? Vera asked. Jake breathed without the wet rattle. Yeah, thanks. We are even now. You saved my life. I saved yours. Keep score if it makes you feel better. She resealed his flight suit. Her hands lingered a moment longer than necessary. You trust easily for a human. I trust my gut. My gut says you're not going to kill me. Your gut is foolish, probably, but it's kept me alive this long. The pod shuddered. Their debris transport had collided with something. Jake felt the trajectory shift. We are moving deeper into the field, Vera said, checking sensors for a brief second. Away from the drones, but toward the planet's gravity well. Which planet? Kalos 4, gas giant. If we fall too far into its influence, we get ripped apart by tidal forces. Fantastic. Perhaps your foolish gut has limits. Jake smiled in the darkness. Maybe. Time stretched. Without visual reference, minutes felt like hours. Jake's internal clock said they'd been drifting for 6 hours total, halfway to potential rescue. Tell me about your family, Vera said. The question caught him off guard. Why? Because I wish to know. Jake considered lying, keeping it professional. But what was the point? Dad was a cargo hauler. Mom taught history. Sister named Katie. She's a xenobotanist on Europa Station. Or was. Don't know if Europa survived the war. You have not heard from them? Communications are restricted during active deployment. Military security. That seems cruel. That's the service. Jake shifted, finding her warmth again. What about you? I was grown in the Marshall creches. No parents in your sense. But I had a brood sister, Kella. She was smaller than most Zathran, defective by our standards. They wanted to recycle her genetic material. Recycle? Kill her. Harvest her for the next generation. Jake felt sick. What happened? I fought the assessors. Won. They reassigned me to combat operations as punishment. Let Kella live as a laborer. Vera's voice carried an edge of old pain. I have not seen her in 3 cycles. Do not know if she survived the human bombardment of our breeding worlds. The weight of it settled between them. 2 soldiers, both fighting for homes they might never see again, both having killed the families of others like them. I'm sorry, Jake said. For what? For your sister. For this war. For all of it. You did not start this. Neither did you. Silence. Then Vera's arm tightened around him slightly. No, neither of us did. The pod jolted hard. Alarms screamed to life. Jake's eyes adjusted to sudden red emergency lights. What happened? He shouted over the noise. Vera's hands flew across the controls. The debris we attached to has been caught by something. A mass driver signature? Salvage operation? No. Her face looked grim in the red light. Tractor beam. Military grade. Jake's blood went cold. Zathran or human? She studied the readings. Unknown. The signature is wrong for both our technologies. Third party? Impossible. This sector? The pod shook violently. Their debris transport was being pulled towards something massive. Through the viewport, Jake saw lights. A ship, but not human design. Not Zathran either. Something else entirely. Hull plating, unlike anything in either fleet's database. Energy signatures that bent wrong. Geometry that hurt to look at. What is that? Jake whispered. I do not know. Vera's voice held something Jake had never heard from her before. Fear. The archives mentioned rumors. Stories from the old expansion. Species that were here before us. Before humans. Before anyone. You're saying that's an ancient alien ship? I am saying we have made a terrible mistake hiding in this debris field. The tractor beam intensified. Their pod detached from the wreckage, pulled directly toward the alien vessel. A bay door opened large enough to swallow a destroyer. Jake grabbed the controls. We need to break free. We have no power. Then we make power. He routed everything to engines. Life support died. Lights died. Every system except propulsion went dark. The engines fired. The pod strained against the tractor beam. Metal groaned. Bolts popped. The hull began to buckle. "It is not enough," Vera said. "Then we go bigger." Jake opened the plasma vents. "Emergency protocol. Dump all fuel, ignite it, create an explosion to break the beam. That will kill us," Vera said calmly. "So will whatever's in that ship." She looked at him, really looked at him, those violet eyes reflecting red emergency light. "You are absolutely insane." "Yeah, I believe I am beginning to like that about you." Jake hit the ignition. The pod exploded outward in a ball of plasma. The tractor beam disrupted. They tumbled free, spinning wildly, systems completely dead, into the darkness of space. And the alien ship, massive and ancient and utterly unknowable, watched them go. Complete darkness. No power. No heat. No life support. Jake couldn't see his own hand in front of his face. "Vera?" His voice sounded small in the dead pod. "Here." Her heat signature was the only thing he could sense. That was exceptionally stupid. Worked, though. "We are adrift with zero power, no propulsion, no communications, no environmental controls." Her breathing stayed controlled. "We traded one death for another." Jake felt his way toward her in the blackness. His hands found armored plating. She didn't pull away. "How long do we have?" he asked. "Oxygen reserves will last 4 hours at current consumption. Temperature will reach lethal levels in 2. So we freeze before we suffocate." "Yes." Jake settled against her, seeking warmth that was already fading. "Well, at least we're not being dissected by ancient aliens. Your optimism truly knows no bounds." "It's a gift." They sat in silence. Jake felt his extremities going numb. His breath came out in frozen clouds he couldn't see but could feel on his face. "I have a confession," Vera said. "Now's the time for it. When I hesitated at the escape pod, it was not only because I distrusted you. No, it was because I recognized your face." She paused. "From Proxima Station, you led the strike team that breached our command deck. I was there. I saw you fight." Jake's heart hammered. "You could have killed me then." "I tried. You were faster." Something that might have been respect entered her voice. "You moved like nothing I had studied, like you predicted every strike before it came. Combat instinct. You either have it or you don't." "No, it was more than that. You fought to protect your crew. I saw you take a blade meant for your pilot. Nearly died." Jake remembered. The Zathran warrior, massive, coming for Lopez. Jake had moved without thinking. Intercepted the strike. 3 broken ribs and a collapsed lung. Worth it. Lopez was 19, he said quietly. Fresh out of academy. Didn't deserve to die. Neither did the warrior you killed to save him. His name was Thex. He had served for 12 cycles, earned honors in 7 campaigns. The words hit like a punch. Jake had never thought about the names, the histories, just targets and threats. "I'm sorry," he said. "Do not be." He would have killed your Lopez without hesitation. That was his purpose. Vera shifted, pulling Jake closer as the cold intensified. "But I wanted you to know he existed, that he mattered." "Yeah?" Jake's voice cracked. "He did." The temperature plummeted. It plumbs. Jake's shivers became violent. His thoughts started to drift, hypothermia setting in. Vera's heat wasn't enough anymore. "Jake." Her voice cut through the fog. "Stay awake. Tired, I know. But if you sleep now, you do not wake. Maybe that's okay." "It is not." She shook him, hard enough to hurt. "Listen to me. When I saw you in that corridor dragging me toward the pod, I thought you were a fool. Humans do not save Zathran. We are enemies. Yeah, but you did anyway. Why? Jake struggled to focus. Told you, couldn't leave you. That is not an answer. It's the only one I have. His teeth chattered so hard he could barely speak. Saw you chained in that cell, beaten, waiting to die. And I thought, what's the point? What are we even fighting for if we can't see past the uniform? We fight for survival. No. We fight because we're told to. Because politicians and generals decided we're enemies. But you're not my enemy, Vera. You're just someone trying to get home. Same as me. Silence. Then her arms wrapped fully around him, holding him against her chest where her core temperature was highest. You are definitely insane, she whispered. Probably, but perhaps that is what your species needs. Humans who see people instead of targets. Jake felt himself slipping. Stay awake. You said stay awake. Yes, I did. Her voice came from far away. Tell me about Earth again. The forests, old growth redwoods, bigger than starships. His words slurred. Walk between them. Feel like an ant, but a good ant. A small part of something ancient. I would like to see that. Yeah. Take you there. Show you the Pacific. Waves bigger than buildings. A promise then. Promise. Jake's eyes closed. The darkness became absolute. Then light. Blinding. Painful. Jake's eyes snapped open. Searchlights. Cutting through the viewport. A voiceover. Emergency frequencies. Crackling through dead speakers that somehow still worked on residual charge. Unidentified pod. This is USS Harbinger. We have you on visual. Preparing retrieval. Jake tried to speak, but his jaw wouldn't work. Vera's hand moved weakly to the control panel. She triggered the emergency beacon. A single ping. Confirmation. 2 life signs detected, the voice continued. 1 human, 1 unknown. Preparing medical teams. The pod shuddered as magnetic grapples locked on. They were being pulled toward the Harbinger's Bay. Vera. Jake forced the word out. We made it. Yes. Her voice was barely audible, though I suspect your people will not be pleased I survived. Don't care what they think. You should. They will call you a traitor. Let them. The pod entered the bay. Atmosphere flooded in. Heat. Blessed heat. Jake heard the seal engage. Felt gravity return as the bay pressurized. The hatch blew open. Marines poured in, weapons raised. "Hands where we can see them," the squad leader shouted. Jake raised his hands slowly. Beside him, Vera did the same, her violet eyes meeting the rifles pointed at her head. "Stand down," Jake croaked. "She's a prisoner. My prisoner. Sir, that's as a Thrace combat officer. Protocol demands." "I said stand down, Sergeant." Jake pulled himself to his feet, swaying. "She saved my life. Multiple times. You will treat her with respect." The sergeant looked uncertain. "Sir, I need to confirm your identity and—" "Lieutenant Jake Morrison, service number 478-2 Alpha 9. USS Valiant presumed destroyed." He met the sergeant's eyes. "And this is Officer Vera. She's under my protection. Anyone who disagrees can take it up with command after they save our lives." A medic pushed through. "Sir, you need immediate treatment. Her first." Jake pointed at Vera. "She's been keeping me alive. Return the favor." The medic hesitated, then moved to Vera. She watched him approach with wary eyes. "It's okay," Jake said. "They won't hurt you. You cannot promise that." "Yeah, I can." The medic began his assessment. More personnel flooded the bay. Jake felt hands supporting him, guiding him to a stretcher. His vision swam. The last thing he saw before passing out was Vera, surrounded by human soldiers, meeting his gaze across the bay. She nodded once. He nodded back. A promise kept. Jake woke to white walls and the smell of antiseptic. Medical bay. His ribs were wrapped tight. Pain dulled to a manageable ache. An IV fed into his arm. "You are awake." Vera's voice came from his left. He turned his head. She sat in a chair beside his bed, unrestrained but flanked by 2 armed guards. Her armor had been removed, replaced with a gray prisoner jumpsuit that fit poorly on her tall frame. "You're alive," Jake said. "As are you. The doctors say you will recover fully." "What about you?" "Minor injuries. Nothing significant." She glanced at the guards. "Though my future remains uncertain." Jake pushed himself up. Pain shot through his side, but he ignored it. "Where's the captain?" "Captain Hendricks is currently reviewing my case with intelligence officers," one of the guards said. "You're not to discuss the incident until debriefed." "The incident?" Jake stared at the guard. "You mean the part where we survived impossible odds?" "Sir, please lie back down." "I'm fine." Jake swung his legs off the bed. The room tilted, but he stayed upright. "I need to speak with Hendricks." "Sir, you're in no condition." "I'm in perfect condition to ensure my prisoner receives proper treatment under military law." Jake found his boots under the bed, pulled them on. "She's a prisoner of war, not a criminal. Geneva Conventions apply. The Zathran aren't signatories to. Then we honor it anyway. That's what separates us from them." Jake caught Vera's expression. "No offense. None taken. Your idealism is consistent, at least." The guard's calm chirp. He listened, then nodded. "Captain wants to see you both. Now." They walked through corridors filled with damaged sections and repair crews. The Harbinger had clearly seen combat. Scorch marks, patched hull breaches, fewer crew than a ship this size should carry. Captain Hendricks waited in a converted cargo bay serving as temporary command. She was 50, gray hair pulled tight, eyes that had seen too much war. "Lieutenant Morrison." She didn't salute. "You've caused quite a situation." "Ma'am, I can explain. You brought an enemy officer aboard my ship, demanded we treat her as a POW, threatened my Marines when they followed standard protocol for hostile contacts." Hendrick's expression remained neutral. "Want to tell me why I shouldn't charge you with a dozen violations?" Jake straightened despite the pain. "Because she saved my life, ma'am. Multiple times. And because the war is based on a lie." That got a reaction. Hendricks's eyes narrowed. "Explain." "The Zathran didn't attack unprovoked. Our colonies violated their territory. We didn't know they were there because they build differently than we do. By the time anyone realized the mistake, both sides had casualties. Then it became about revenge." "You're getting this from her?" Hendricks gestured at Vera. "I'm getting it from what I saw, what I experienced." Jake took a breath. "Ma'am, I've killed Zathran. I've watched them kill my friends. But sitting in that pod, freezing to death, I learned something. They're not monsters. They're soldiers, same as us, fighting for homes, for families, for species survival." "That's a very enlightened perspective, Lieutenant. Doesn't change the fact that they're winning this war." "Are they, though?" Jake gestured at the damaged bay. "Looks to me like we're all losing." Hendricks was quiet for a long moment. Then she turned to Vera. "You, speak." Vera inclined her head. "What would you have me say, Captain?" "Truth. Is Morrison right? Did we start this?" "Yes." Vera's voice remained steady. "But that does not excuse the atrocities committed since. By both sides. Your colonies on our worlds. Our attacks on your civilian stations. We have both become what we claim to fight against. So what do you suggest?" "I suggest that perhaps 2 soldiers who survived together might be a beginning, a small proof that coexistence is possible." Hendricks laughed, bitter. You think anyone in command will listen? Either side? No, Vera admitted, but that does not mean it should not be said. The captain studied them both. Jake held her gaze. You're aware, Hendricks said slowly, that keeping a Zathrain prisoner aboard guarantees this ship becomes a target? High value. Her intelligence alone. I'm aware, ma'am. And you're asking me to risk my crew for this? I'm asking you to do what's right. Hendricks turned away, staring at the damaged bulkhead. I lost 60 crew in the last engagement. 60 good people dead because of this war. She turned back. Give me one reason why I should protect your prisoner. Jake met Vera's eyes. She nodded slightly. Because ending this war starts with one person, Jake said. Then another. Then another. Someone has to be first. Might as well be us. Silence filled the cargo bay. The guards shifted uncomfortably. Vera remained perfectly still. Finally, Hendricks sighed. You're both insane. Yeah, Jake said. We get that a lot. Fine. She stays. Under guard. In secured quarters. Any sign of trouble? There won't be, Jake said. You're staking your career on that. Yes, ma'am. I am. Hendricks dismissed them with a wave. As they left, escorted by guards, she called after them, Morrison? Ma'am, for what it's worth, I hope you're right about all of this. Me too, ma'am. 3 days later, Jake stood in the observation deck. Vera joined him, guards trailing at a respectful distance. They'd become a fixture on the ship, the human who saved the alien. The alien who saved the human, a story that spread through the crew faster than official reports. Your captain sent a message to Fleet Command, Vera said, recommending prisoner exchange protocols. She cited our survival as proof that cooperation is possible. Think it'll work? No. Vera smiled, but it is a beginning. Jake looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the war continued. Ships burning, soldiers dying, species fighting over misunderstandings that became hatreds. But here, on this damaged vessel, 2 enemies stood side by side. When this is over, Jake said, when we're not trying to kill each other anymore, I still owe you that trip to Earth, the redwoods, the ocean, and I will show you the singing caves of Zathera. Deal. They stood in silence, watching stars drift past. Behind them, human crew moved about their duties. Some glanced at Vera with suspicion, others with curiosity, a few with something that might have been hope. Change didn't happen all at once, but it started somewhere, with 2 soldiers in a pod, making space for each other, choosing survival over hatred, proving that maybe, just maybe, humanity could be better than its worst instincts. The war wasn't over, not by a long shot, but for the first time, Jake believed it could end with something other than